Well, thank you for that transition, Zoe. And obviously, you know, I'm kind of disappointed in the desk here, Moxie. They all going for Outlaws, huh? You know, Danny was saying they look good on paper. Okay, that everything's on paper until it comes into freaking fruition. So we need to see Outlaws come into this match versus Toronto, who, by the way, let me remind you, look pretty dang good in map number 1, Moxie. So I don't know if you're with me. Do you think this game's really going to be?
I'm against you, Dustin. I'm with Desk here.
Are you kidding me, dude? It's okay.
Hey, look, you put Fearless on a team, and instantly, when we're in a meta where Monkey is just super valuable, I'm gonna go with ye old Shanghai Dragons Winston.
It's
like,
fair.
Come on. The guy is pretty much just the best Winston in the world. Like, Gushui and Fearless just tie for world best Winston at the moment for me.
On Nepal, I mean, he'll be able to show that, right? He'll be able to play that Winston, kind of lock it. And, you know, we have to talk about maybe our predictions a little here. I think that I'm going to be the one guy to go for Defiant, okay? Everybody else going for Outlaws, but Defiant looked good. And, you know, the old American favored Defiant, I guess it's just like, you know... it's kind of the reason why I'm retired, Moxie. The Koreans are too good, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, America's had their time, you know, back when like Surefour was playing, but I think now Outlaws just a dominant roster on paper.
Not even going for the ego check of like when I was playing.
No, I was terrible. I mean, I was a bad player, to be honest with you. But, you know, like, now moving into the future, you know, that's why we got Ultraviolet in the game, right?
Yeah, Violet gonna be sitting there on the Zen, a role that you're very much familiar with. Like, this is something that you have to worry about, though. When you run that Zen over the Lucio, you are effectively a glass cannon. Fearless, however, going to be smacking a couple of other things. He's not going to be running around on the Winston. He's going to be coming out on the Doomfist, and I'm a little bit concerned about this because Hydrogen on that Casty with that extra health and the Magnate to punish when the Doomfist gets too close is going to be such a prime target to take the Doomfist down. But Kaluge is actually the one that Outlaws go after, and this is really unexpected. So unexpected that Defiant really weren't ready for it. No. Because he gets hacked. He immediately just gets to sit there as Phyllis comes in with that punch, and instantly Defiant without a tank can do nothing as Outlaws just send Pelican to pick a point.
Yeah, I didn't even see if he was discorded either. I mean, I probably was considering how fast he died there.
He evaporated.
Yeah, it was so quick. And Ultraviolet, like you mentioned, now over to that Kariko, you know, Defiant are in a weird spot. They're going to come into this point happy, looking for the hack in the backline. Nice anti-grenade lands. OG and Hydrogen already low. I mean, how do you live versus that Shu? Taken down, eventually will fall, but the disengage now comes through from Fearless to keep his Zenyatta alive. And with that Discord, I'm not sure if Luge can do too much, but Shu's still out of the fight, right? And Houston now can rotate towards this main side. Toronto Defiant, half their group get some heals, but they're now regrouped as 5 and as are Outlaws.
Yeah, this is the problem now that Outlaws have to face. They haven't been able to pick off one of the members of Defiant, but Ultraviolet does get hacked. We'll be able to cleanse it with that CZ. And still, this is just buying space for Violet to stay alive and not get dove upon by Defiant, allowing him to come in with those Zenovs and absolutely hurtle through Speedley's house.
And Fearless gets the punch off the map on the Ultraviolet too before he could even use the Swift Step. Now Hydrogen and Kaluge are gone, and I can see, okay, maybe I was doubting Outlaws a little bit too much for no reason, right? This is the reason why people even, you know, not about just Fearless, but people call Violet the GOAT of Overwatch just because of how successful he's been. In this Outlaws team, now with ultimates, Defiant are in a huge hole.
I mean, it's not just Violet, either it's Shu as well. This whole backline is just pumping damage constantly. And when you add on things like the Anti-Nade and the Discord, Phyllis just gets coming for like 3 seconds and job is done. Speaking about job is done, Defiant's push is done. Meteor Strike even. A cherry on top to take Kaluge down. And Outlaws just finished the fight off so quickly. Defiant, they swapped composition like 2 fights before this. Hydron is yet to hit the overclock.
Oh god, he's 85, 86. It's a Hydron overclock situation now. Defiant now rotate towards the main. Outlaws now back towards the point. They still have Violet in a very safe position. They have that nano boost. They commit it onto the Doomfist, who's looking for a target, but it might have been just a bait to force that Kitsune rush out. So now Fearless comes back for the peel, and Kaluge is already dead. So no more Winston on the side of Defiant. You don't have a tank at all. Outlaws are still very healthy. Fearless is low, but just backs on under there. Has the Transcendence. They hold the W key with it. Overtime is halfway ticked down. Can anybody touch? They do so, but not after Hydron's dead while overclocking. Kaluge is back with the Primal Rage, but he's being juggled around by a Doomfist. And now Violet could just play that Jonak style. Outlaws will win round number 1.
Outlaws with a glass cannon that is effectively just reinforced glass. The only thing that matters for that composition from Outlaws is the cannon aspect, because they just blitzed a hole through Defiant's forces every single time a fight began, to the point that we saw Defiant have like one ultimate per player. Shu, by the way, just getting to see his POV. Look at what he was doing. He gets to nano Fearless and then just deal with Kalush looking for that dive. And then here comes Violet. They know that the Winston bubble's been used. There's the Discord. He's already sleeping. You're not missing that headshot. Pelican even lending a little bit of a hand, just tossing up a false bomb. It really is a group effort from Outlaws, and they just come together, all 5 players, to just blitz the member of Defiant down and then move on to the next. Here, however, though, is where the Doomfist doesn't really work. Phyllis comes out onto that Winston, already is going to jump straight onto Defiant, but Defiant are running the Reinhardt, and they're actually negating the cons of running a Reinhardt composition, not having access to that high ground traditionally, by keeping Hydra on the Symmetra, so the TP can allow Kalush to rotate around and catch Outlaws before the Lucio can out-rotate this round composition.
Yeah, now they drop to the point, and by the way, if you're wondering, Outlaws have only had 1 death on the entire first round. Defiant do get that point swap. No deaths, no second death, I should say, happens just yet for them. They kind of surround the point, leave Happy on this high ground to find some damage into the backline. That TP now available for Hydron to keep his team safe. Angel Grenade does land on it speedily, but it's nobody else to connect onto for Outlaws, so they're just playing on this outside. Good job by Defiant to just keep themselves alive, keep healthy, and avoid Outlaws' dive. They're just going to keep walling them off, and Outlaws, they can't really find the engage here, sadly for them, and Defiant are continually just racking up points. They're at 30% now here. The dive comes through from Fearless onto the backline, but it's only onto Speedily, who has a ton of health. However, that lamp was forced. Pelican gets Speedily after the Immortality Field runs out, and now it's just Kaluj on this point. He has some heals, but surely he's going to fall, and yes, he does. Now they come in for a little bit of delay, but now 44, 45%. That's a lot of ticks for Defiant, but Outlaws get the flip.
Yeah, this is a stall composition. This isn't traditional Brawl. This is, we sit ourselves on the point as quickly as possible, using things like the Symmetric TP to just TP straight onto point, and then we drop a May wall. And we buy ourselves 47% and upwards on the point. Now, Defiant, because they have ultimates built up, they can go straight to point, drop the Blizzard, find the flip, and if Outlaws want to contest this, it's going to be off of a pick before the rotation can come through.
Wait, they TP to high ground. They actually come aggressive into Outlaws over to the top side, but do they find the value? Yes, they do. They get Shu. The beat drop was a bit too late to save him, but Fearless and Pelican combine on the opposite side for 2 more kills, and now the juggles come through. The beat drop's a bit too late to save Ultraviolet speedily. However, Hydron gets Fearless, so they do trade it back, and you still have your tank on this point. As long as you have those Lucio heals, Kaluj might be okay, but Pelican desperately wants that kill. The high nuke comes through. Kaluj takes his shield down at the wrong point, and that's why you should stick to off tanks, I guess, buddy, because Kaluj falls. They didn't get the point flip, and everything is sort of collapsing now for Defiant. However, Ultraviolet does get Pelican, drops the window. They're trying to clutch it up, though. Fearless goes in with an Hannah boost and just immediately negates any value Ultraviolet could have found from his ultimate, and he has to back up. They're waiting for Kaluj to come back, and now he is. Still has that shatter. Does he land a big one? He's going to have to wait for that Winston dive. Now it is. He goes for the solo shatter and actually gets the damage kill from Fearless as well. They flip the point at 69%, and now Outlaws, they're going to have to back up.
Yeah, really smart focus. Yes, you use one ultimate for one player to be removed, but it's Fearless. And that Winston, when you take him out of the picture, he's not going for your backline. So Defiant can just keep control of that point, and the Winston can't stall it. Now we're seeing the swap, though. Fearless is off of the Winston. He's going for the ram. So he's looking to punish the fact that Defiant are anchoring around this Reinhardt. When he gets close enough, those pummels are going to connect onto every single player sitting behind Kaluj's shield.
All right, 72%. They're now in the lead, though. But like you mentioned, Fearless coming in, going to do a lot of work more than likely on this front line. Forces Kaluj back, so that pressure already coming into play. And Happy onto the Hanzo. Immediate impact after swapping to that hero to find Hydron on the backside. Now speedily trying to look for that duel. Let's see if he can live up to his claim of trying to be the best tracer in the world. Kaluj now is taken very low. He goes down too, and it seems like Defiant is slowly getting bled out here. They're going to have to go for a reset and maybe get one more fight.
Yeah, it is going to be a reset, but Defiant are going to have Sound Barrier and they're going to have Amplification Matrix. And because it's Final Fight territory, if Defiant get to sit themselves on the point, and they're keeping Hydron on the Symmetra, so they're going to go straight to point. Speedly's even going back onto the main to try and wall off a target from Outlaws, and even be able to wall off the Annihilation coming through from Fearless. Defiant have all of the sustainability in the world, and Outlaws do not have the point percentage to sacrifice to stay away from an Amp Matrix.
There's that TP, but they're immediately into a Hanzo Dragon Strike, so Ultraviolet falls. The beat drop cannot save him. They do have Symmetra window though, so they're given a bit more shields to work with. Kaluja gets a charge onto Pelican. Fearless is nano boosted, but unfortunately for him, it doesn't seem like he can do too much with that Ramattra. He's gonna barely stay alive and find 2 after committing the ultimate, so maybe eat my words. Allowed Happy to get speedily 2, so just Hydron on this point in a 1v or 2v2 with Ultraviolet. They could still win this versus this Hanzo. Has to use his TPs perfectly. Make sure he can get Violet. He does so after Violet just gets killed at the very end there, so they're in the advantage for this point, but the point flips because Pelican there is there to touch it and gives that Houston Outlaws point flip, but Pelican, after the recall, is fully healthy. Now Defiant comes back through. They touch that point. Kaluja is onto the Doomfist. So is Fearless onto the point, but Happy and Hanzo continually pumping in those arrows into the back line. It's Fearless to go down low first. Defiant still have full point control and are trying to build that Hydron ultimate. They do get Violet again, so that's 2 picks in a row onto Violet. That gives Defiant the advantage. They still have the point under the control. Hydron goes down to Happy, but OG gets Pelican. And now without your Tracer, you don't have a lot of heals either from your supports, tying the rounds 1-1. We're going to a round number 3.
Oh my goodness, what an overtime.
That was crazy.
What an absolute stunner of an overtime. Toronto Defiant, what a stunner of a display on how to contest an overtime with a Symmetra coming through from Hydron. Playing around those TPs, making sure that he has enough time to just dip in and out of range of Outlaws who can't step off of that point, and being able to play around the primary but also the secondary as well, to apply even more pressure onto Outlaws. The fact that Violet gets picked off back-to-back as well does mean that there's not that sustainability. For Outlaws, typically the looter is the one that wants to keep that point in play, and as a result, Defiant are able to just deal with the members that Outlaw throw themselves onto the point with. But now we're going to see an entirely different composition come through from Defiant. They really do like to mix things up, as Speedly's onto the Echo. There's the Echo that we expected to see, not from Series 1, it's going to be in Series 3 that it comes out, and Kaluj onto that Sigma, as the BAP and Zen is going to be coming out from Ultraviolet and OG. The glass cannon that Outlaws were trying to run, not quite as glass, not quite as see-through, given that Ultraviolet does have the immortality field. If you are the Ana and the Zen, you have the anti-nade, but you do have a little bit more vulnerability if Speedly is able to death drop right down on you.
Yeah, OG or Kaluj goes to touch that point just to delay things. We've seen this composition be ran on this map, and we could see why. I mean, Kaluj doing a great job just sustaining on this point, allowing Hydron to find that opening pick onto Violet onto that pick, because, you know, they just have so much point pressure and nobody can even touch. Fearless goes to touch, but the space is just there for Hydron and the rest of their team. Kaluj just too healthy with those shields, and now they're just building up that tick percentage, Moxie.
Yeah, Hydron building up 70% of a Dragon Strike in one fight. Speedly just sort of acting as bait in that front line, inviting Outlaws into peeking. They know that Violet and Shu are very aggressive support players, so if they peek towards taking out the Echo, who doesn't have a Mercy Pocket, they put themselves into sight of Hydron, and that's why the Hanzo is doing so much damage at the moment. But Fearless has a nano boost. He's absolutely blitzing through Kaluj's health, and the Sigma has to take a big old step backwards. That's the anchor on point for Defiant's composition, so as a result, Outlaws have been able to bait the flip.
But they're onto the back, onto the OG. Luckily, Hydron's there with the peel. I mean, that's just some great storm arrows. Now gets Fearless as well. There goes your favorite Winston, Moxie. Now that Dragon Strike comes through to zone. Pelican finds the kill. Hydron, by the way, just been a standout player. However, Violet does get collusion now. Without your tank player, how much can you do, Hydron? Show me one more, buddy. Hit another shot. Why not? You get 3. You already hit a body shot and a shoe to force him back, and now he comes through, finds even more value as they flip that point.
Remember as well, Winston Bubble's health has been nerfed. So Storm Arrow is something that Fearless is very conscious of when he goes for those dives. Happy does have a Dragon Strike himself, and Outlaws might be able to use it to bait the flip, buy themselves that space to be able to walk back onto that point again and push Kaluj away. But Kaluj is actually playing off of the point at the moment. He's playing on that back corner, so it's going to be even harder for this dive to commit into the back line. It's all going to be down to Pelican.
Yeah, now speedily goes around that back looking for that value onto Happy, but he has that support from both heroes. Now Fearless goes deep onto Ultraviolet with Pelican and allows them that opening pick. Now Happy just trying to create some space on the point while Fearless goes deep onto the Zenyatta with that nano boost. I mean, there's not much OG could do besides pop the Transcend. He's going to opt to save it, which is a pretty intelligent play from him as they flip that point back in Outlaws' favor.
Yeah, speaking about saving ultimates, Pelican saves onto that Pulse Bomb. And it's because the threat of the Pulse Bomb outweighs the usage of the Pulse Bomb on that dive. Pelican going with Fearless forces Ultraviolet to split from Kaluge and leaves him vulnerable. The Sigma can't actually connect the rock onto Fearless when the dive comes through, so Ultraviolet goes down. And without that BAP, the Sigma has to just back away. Now, however, they still have to worry about the Pulse Bomb. They still have to worry about the Dragon Strike, but all that's done is just force Defiant back into this corner for a little bit longer.
It's just signature from a great dive team, though, right? Outlaws just immediately going for that early dive to force OG and Ultraviolet back. Fearless goes in with that Primal Rage. Now comes Kaluge with that ultimate, but it gets hit by a Transcendence, so everybody is nice and healthy. And now Kaluge has to back up. They lost speedily. You don't have a lot of the damage. This is entering last fight territory now for Defiant.
And how do they engage? This is the problem for this team. They lose Ultraviolet on the tail end of it. Kaluge is going to be a little bit stuck. He won't go down. The problem for Defiant is that Ultraviolet was the one closest in the composition to getting an ultimate up. And Pelican can just wait for him to walk back towards the team and come with the Pulse Bomb.
Oh,
but not if Hydran hits that shot! Hello, Pelican, goodbye!
Leaping Hydran, what a shot from him. Allows Defiant to now push through. Now Ultraviolet has that window, uses it to get onto Fearless, who doesn't have Primal Rage, by the way. There goes that bubble, does manage to get with his life. Points in overtime. OG does end up finding him as well, and Outlaws, they're going to have to back up. This series has been way closer than I think anybody could have predicted.
Hydran keeps Ultraviolet safe and allows him to come back, sit up on that corner, and drop Amp Matrix. And because these Outlaws haven't been playing around the point, they're a tight composition. They've been playing on sideline. They get stuck right in the middle of that Amp Matrix, and Defiant are able to find that flip and continue on. As it is going to be one more fight. Happy's actually swapping onto the Sombra, but speedily is the one now that Outlaws have to worry about. Violet gets stunned. He's not there for the Tracer to be able to connect the Pulse Bomb on, though, and now it's going to be a race of time. Can Outlaws buy the space and time for Violet to build into the Transcendence, or is Speedly going to come in and connect with a Pulse Bomb? He goes for the Ana, but he misses!
Yeah, nice movement from Shu. Now Happy on this backside. They're talking about to dive. OG's very close to that Transcendence. Can he build in time? Violet finds the opening pick onto Speedily. Oh my god, but he does get traded off by Ultraviolet. Somehow goes down. Kaluge committed the Gravitic Flux onto literally nobody because Violet's already dead. He tried to find him, but nice Transcendence from OG. Keeps Kaluge healthy. The Pulse Bomb doesn't land or doesn't do damage either, so now Kaluge gets juggled into the backside, but Fearless with Discord Orb on him. Does get nano boosted, but he's still shredded by Hydran and Zenyatta from OG. He is hit by the anti-grenade, but he's immediately saved from Ultraviolet, the Immortality Field. They have the point, nobody can touch, and Houston Outlaws will be going down map number 1 to Toronto Defiant.
You know what? It may be early doors. It may be map number 1, but I think someone owes Hydron a very shiny MVP medal.
Jesus, man.
Oh my goodness. The things that the Hansel was doing, just making sure that the Tracer didn't get the run of the backline, that you get to save Immortality Field, that you get to save that back corner as well. Like, that was the main target focus coming through from Houston Outlaws. Every single time a dive was orchestrated, it was always onto that back corner. And you could actually see the adaptation coming through from Defiant in that they started not leaving Ultraviolet alone on the back. They started positioning Kaluge there on that backline, and then we saw Hydran sitting up with that back corner in his side as well, knowing that eventually the Winston's gonna run into him, the Tracer's gonna run into him, and all he has to do is keep that angle. Insane play coming through from Defiant after a really rocky start. This round just looked so one-sided with this glass cannon breaking before they can even set up composition that came out from Houston. Like, grab me the cowboy boots. I'm a Houston fan after seeing this.
I would love to see that. I just see a picture of Moxie just Photoshop with some giant boots or something like that. That'd be great. But, you know, on the upside, I mean, that's just great composure from Defiant, right, Moxie? I mean, to just come back through and stop Outlaws before they could find anything, because Outlaws were playing well. I think we can both agree on that, right? That's what you mentioned. Outlaws played phenomenal in that round number 1.
Yeah, it's honestly, there's a knife edge moment where Hydran literally turns the entire map around, and it's when Pelican is looking for that back flank with the Pulse Bomb to connect onto a respawning Ultraviolet. Because even if Pulse Bomb doesn't find the BAP, you're still going to get in close enough before his team is around. You're still going to force that Immortality Field, and you're still going to deny Amp Matrix sitting up on that back corner. But Hydran lands that shot onto Pelican, denying the opportunity for the Tracer to push onto a Bat who's vulnerable because he's mid-rotate.
And yeah, you don't usually see a lot of Hanzos be able to peel as well as Hydran has for his team. But guys, we'll be going to a short break. When we come back, Blizzard World is going to be next. And obviously Outlaws are in a bit of a hole. Let's see if they can get out. We'll see you guys after this short break.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up. Turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up. Way up.
At Houston Outlaws, gotta make it interesting. You know what? That's pretty fair, I guess. I mean, they've been making it interesting, right? On paper, they've been making it interesting, and in person, they've making it interesting either. I guess it wasn't supposed to be interesting. You know, maybe Outlaws were supposed to be the ones that were absolutely dominant, but in this fashion, I mean, this has been a very close series, and Defiant are the ones to win that map number 1. But going into map number 2, Moxie, it looks like they're making some substitutions.
Yeah, I think that map number 1 was a big old curveball, especially when we saw how the first submap went, and it seems like Defiant want to keep mixing things up again. So Majet is actually going to be coming in instead of OG, and this to me speaks that they want to move away from the Lucio, because Sir Majet and Ultraviolet, like, there is a lot of power in both of these two rosters when it comes to their support lineups. They're very proud of how flexible their support lineups can be. Sir Majet can typically play both the Zen and the Kiriko, and so too can Ultraviolet. Both of the players very good as well on the Baptiste, so there's going to be a lot of, I think, head scratching for Outlaws to try and figure out what exactly they're going to be playing into.
Yeah, and we don't know much about the full rosters when they eventually will come out for the World Cup teams, but I would say Sir Majet obviously going to more than likely be one of the support players for Team Saudi Arabia, and on the opposite side, right, they have a lot of American talent that is more than likely going to be on Team USA as well. But against the star-studded lineup like Outlaws, what does Defiant do differently on this map to continue their map 1 win?
So I think Defiant have worked out that a lot of Outlaws' damage and pressure in terms of controlling those angles is off of how aggressive their backline can get, right? Running Violet on that Zen, Shu on the Ana. These are two plays that their reputation precedes them in terms of the damage that they output. And by having Sir Majet come in and play that Kiriko and Ultraviolet play the Ana, Defiant are still going to be able to match that same level of threat in terms of backline. More so, it's going to set Majet on that Kiriko with those Afudas to keep pace with Speedily. So Defiant don't have to sacrifice and play a Mercy, which puts a lot less resources in terms of how the tank is going to play, whether or not your second support is going to get peeled from them. All of that pressure is entirely alleviated, while your Echo still gets that support from players on the ground.
Well, Happy looking for that first shot with the TP. I mean, trying to go for that classic play. It's hard to do more than once, as we've seen in the past. As Outlaws, Moxie, it looks like they're playing the Ana Zen, like you mentioned.
Yeah, Fearless going to be running on that Winston, looking to initiate onto that dive. But Kalush, he's not actually on the Winston, he's on the D.Va, so he's going to be ready for that dive. He's ready for that peel. You can already see him sacrificing that position on the low ground just to make sure that Ultraviolet isn't pressured out. Speedily is going to be the one to pressure Outlaws if they try and actually just push onto this point.
The Outlaws playing back, now go for that dive. Immediate boop comes through onto Fearless, who tried to create some space, now is going towards that point, but Toronto Defiant over the top side, dropped the anti-grenade, and it's followed up on by Hydrant immediately. Speedily, though, getting shot from Shu from across the map. However, it might be too little too late for Outlaws because they don't have any support. Toronto Defiant are nice and healthy, and now they can pick off these stragglers over the backside.
Yeah, this is another difference. By running Fearless on the Winston, your dive is a little bit more potent, but Kalush on the D.Va has Defense Matrix. And one of Shu's big targets, big ways that Outlaws would initiate a dive and set Fearless up, would be with those anti-nades and those sleep darts. And Defense Matrix deals with both.
Kalush is continually trying to deal or to peel for Fearless's dive. Now comes that nano boost onto Speedily. I mean, we've seen this been done before. We've heard about it, but now we get to see it. Violet Shu deleted immediately by the dive of Kalush, and Speedily in one nano play just allows them that utter stop to Outlaws' push, and now they have to back up again. We're going to that 2-minute timer now, Moxie.
Speedily just roll a nat 20 on Disintegrate. Did that actually just happen? It was 1 second to play, next second dust. Speedily coming in with the absolute dumpster onto Outlaws backline, and Fearless still sticking on this Winston, still trying to build up to that primal. She's going to have a nano for this next fight, and that's the difference maker. Speedily is gone. Speedily has been the one to keep Pelican in check right now, so Ultraviolet's going to look a little bit more vulnerable, but the CSAP does connect onto Fearless before the nano boost from Shu actually gets line of sight to keep the Winston up, and so he's not able to build up to the primal, not able to sustain Outlaws in this frontline fight, and instead the nano boost goes on to Pelican.
Both teams are playing this perfectly, though. I mean, Transcendence now has to come through from Violet. They actually used Defiant using their ults a bit late there on purpose, but Pelican gets speedily, so now he is not in this fight. That's a big damage dealer that you require in this next fight, especially with this EMP now coming through onto your backline. Do they sustain through it? It looks like they do. The sleep dart from Ultraviolet, Happy's dead as well. The support gameplay from Toronto Defiant from Ultraviolet is absolutely insane. They peel off one of the best Winstons in the game. Hydran finds Violet over the backline. Now Diva Bomb is popped from Kaluj on the point. Hydran does eventually go down, but now here's that Nano Boost. That support ultimate that we talked about that was enacted a bit late here on purpose. They do find Fearless to force him back as well, but they don't have entire point control. Outlaws are still in this. They have some presence, but there's no ultimates, and Speedily has that copy. 1 minute left now, Moxie. I mean, Outlaws, they're in a rough spot.
Really good bubble from Fearless to save Shu from getting hit by those Echo Stickies, but Speedy's already got the duplication. He goes for the Tracer copy to just try and build up that Pulse Bomb as quickly as possible, and it's relegated Outlaws into the side building. They can't come out, otherwise they're playing into that Tracer, and we do see the Pulse Bomb doesn't connect, however, as Fearless with a Nano Boost from Shu, who'd survived. Outlaws, by playing that position, by playing away from the Tracer, giving up presence on the point to play from the side, build up the Nano and send Fearless into the back line. And by the time the duplicate from Speedly runs out, Outlaws have already been able to find the picks onto the backline. Speedly isn't able to peel. He's already playing aggressive. He's already pushing onto Outlaws' front line. And they know that Defiant, that leaves that backline susceptible. Outlaws play it perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was just great work from them to shut down Speedily and the rest of Defiant. And this is what we talk about when, you know, casters or anybody in the community talks about a high-level Overwatch, guys. You are seeing some of the best teams in the entire world compete against each other at this current moment, and it's painfully obvious how good both teams are. But Surmajed gonna have that Kitsune rush in this fight, but Pelican and Happy with that EMP Tracer Bomb play, you can't count Outlaws out of it yet.
Kaluj might be able as well to find impact with that self-destruct when he built it up, given that Phyllis's bubble is pretty telegraphed. And Outlaws not running that Kiriko, don't have that Susie to try and iframe it either. Defiant trying to use that to just keep control of this high ground. By running that Kiriko, they have the ability as well with the Diva to jump between the high and the low, but it does, if they bundle up on the high ground, they're gonna get hit by EMP. Sure, it doesn't find the full teamfight win that Outlaws are looking for, but it finds some spiral picks which can stagger into a fight win if they're able to sustain long enough. But Hydran's able to find Happy, and that Sombra's presence immediately allows Kalush to move a lot more free.
I mean, Ultraviolet has just been an absolute thorn in this side of Outlaws. Hydran as well with that peel gets Fearless. I mean, we need to sing this guy's praises as well, who's been doing phenomenal on Tracer, but the overall good, like the peel that Defiant has for each other, for their backline, is amazing to shut out that, which was surely going to be a fight win versus any other team for Outlaws.
Yeah, both of these Annas really pulling their weight when it comes to just keeping those players out of commission and allowing that frontline to sit a lot more comfortably. Kalush does have that self-destruct right now. Phyllis is primal, but he doesn't want to use it until he sees that self-destruct, because if he primal rages, he removes that bubble. He removes waiting for the cooldown for Kalush, as the bubble has to come through now. They're even dropping Soundfire on top to try and keep pace, as Speedly was the one that got nano boosted. Outlaws have seen that when the Echo gets nano boosted, that's Defiant's go time. And they actually play really smart. They play underneath the awning of the high ground so that the Echo doesn't have the freedom of movement to drop down and isolate a player out.
Yeah, nice job from them to peel that out, but now Outlaws have a bit of ultimates here, but Defiant gonna have Speedily with the copy. You know, we have to see if Outlaws can pick off Speedily like they have done before. Defiant just playing back. Outlaws come back through to this high ground on top of the bridge. Defiant kind of playing back, allowing Kalush that space. Hydran almost falls, but recalls just in the nick of time. Now towards this cart, Fearless goes with that primal rage, and now he's just kind of lost. He's looking for the backline. He's looking for a kill, but can't find it. Now he comes back for Speedily, who is just zoned out, has that copy still. The EMP came through, but is the follow-up damage there? It doesn't look like it. Defiant are still healthy. Speedily finds Shu in the backline, and Fearless, how much value can you find versus this backline combo of Surmajid and Ultraviolet? You're not going to find much. Hydran gets Pelican as well, and now you're down so many members on your team. Defiant against all odds. Overtime ticking down. Outlaws have ultimates, but they don't have the members, and unfortunately for Happy, he falls, and Defiant stop Outlaws' push in the second phase.
This is what I was talking about, the survivability of an Echo player when we were in series number 1. Because Speedily knows that his backline is being pressured by a nano-boosted Winston. And he uses the duplicate to heal himself. He goes for the pick, he goes for the copy onto the Tracer as well, so he has the survivability, he has things like the blinks and the recalls to keep himself in play and keep pushing onto members of Outlaws, so that when that anti-nade on Fearless runs out, the Winston doesn't have the teammates to be able to push and provide Defiant attention drawn away from the tank to keep the Winston up and balled into the Primal, which is the main way that Outlaws are looking to sustain and stagger in an overtime brawl.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing work from Defiant. And unfortunately for Outlaws, you know, it's a bit of a weird situation, right? I mean, obviously heavy favorites coming into this, but behind the scenes, we've heard, you know, people sing the praises of Defiant, Mox. I mean, me and you have heard that they've been doing absolutely amazing in practice and scrims. And I mean, same thing for Outlaws. So, you know, for Outlaws, what's their win condition now on the defense, Moxie?
So for Outlaws, the biggest win condition for them is going to be Happy. Happy is coming out of the gates playing the Sombra. There is one target. Potentially two. You can either go for the backline, right? You can try and just one clip through Ultraviolet or Summerjet before the Pure can come through, and then just bop on out. I would like to see Hax come onto Kaluge, because Kaluge, just being there in the mech, allows Defiant a safety blanket against so much that Outlaws are trying to run into that backline.
Right. Well, let's see if Outlaws can actually stop Defiant on this attack. They move towards that room on the bottom left, towards the health pack to set up their dive. Fearless already jumping back early, maybe a little bit scared of that damage that Defiant had earlier. They're just playing back, allowing Violet to find these right clicks, maybe giving them that opening pick that they need.
There's that first hack. It is onto Kaluge, and as a result, Defiant not really able to move forward and find that space. Oh, Violet. This is why the guy is known. This is why he's so famous for as the Zen. You can't just walk up simply to Violet in the backline as a Tracer and not expect to get your head blown off. He hits those shots every single day.
He does. And the rest of Outlaws also to push Hydran towards that side. I mean, that's just great teamwork, and then follow up and execution from Violet. Happy does get the hack, but now is out of the fight because he had to use that translocator. But he's already back now in towards this fight where the entirety of Defiant are kind of grouped up, setting up this dive, but Violet and Shu slowly rotating around this backside. Maybe they could be seen as caught out here, but it doesn't seem like Defiant wants to press the go key until Kaluge is ready, but it might be too late for him because now he just jumps to the high ground. The hack comes through from Happy. As soon as they force Happy out, it's the go time for Defiant because now he's gone. Kaluge finds Fearless as well. They come back for the peel. Kaluge does lose his mech, but they're on to Violet. Sermajet hits the shots as well, so Violet trades back onto Hydran, but as well as Sermajet just doing this damage on the front line, speedily with the nano boost finds Shu as well. They're going to come back through, get this point. The grenades land onto Happy as well, and Defiant, pretty fast take for them. 2 minutes and 22 seconds left, now moving on to second phase.
Dive never really works well when your team's target focus is split. And that was the problem for Outlaws. Fearless went for the backline, went for Ultraviolet. Meanwhile, Summerjet was dueling Happy, and the Sombra being out of the mix allowed Kaluge to still peel for the Ana. And who does Fearless go down to? Oh, it's Kaluge. And once the Winston's gone, the Ana is gonna sit pretty. There's no way that you're gonna be able to blitz through that health bar. There's Happy now is looking for those hacks, still trying to find a target that's maybe isolated a little bit further away from the pack. Ultraviolet has been spotted, but Kaluge is super close. Speedly so close as well to that duplication. There's the hack onto Kaluge. No boost is going to be that for the Diva, but the dive just doesn't come through from Outlaws. They don't want to push in because they know that the DPS have already built their ults. Hydron now is the one that has all of the power. It's playing from the side room, forcing Outlaws back even further, and that means that Shu, without the Lucio, to be able to rotate cleanly away, is susceptible to the Echo. We're even seeing Violet throw in the Transcendence to keep Outlaws in a position to hold Defiant at choke.
Yeah, I guess in like the overall terms, I mean, they only used the Transcendence. Defiant didn't use anything. Maybe Defiant expected a little bit more to be used for Outlaws. And now on the defensive side...
It's the perfect play because you need to keep that space that Speedly and Hydran have to work with to as much a minimum as possible. And that's why Outlaws set themselves into using Transcendence. Like, what are they even going to use Transcendence to try and save themselves from? It's not like there's a Sigma. It's not like there's a Reinhardt. You don't really have anything like a Zarya either. That Transcendence going on is nowhere near the death sentence that it should be for other compositions. That, however, might be. Rush comes through from Defiant, and immediately with that copy from Speedly onto the Tracer, there's just no way those pulse pistols are going to stop firing.
Great job from Defiant to out-rotate that EMP. Speedily with the comp, he does find Fearless as well. And Outlaws, they're back against the wall now, Moxie. They have the Nano Boost, they have Pulse Bomb. Defiant have their own Pulse Bomb and Nano. But we've seen Speedily zone out the entirety of Outlaws before. Let's see if that happens again. They're playing it slow on the low ground. 2 minutes and 41 seconds left. Our nade have to be used. Pulse Bomb lands, but it doesn't find the kill because he's Nano Boosted from Shu. Yeah. Great Nano Boost to keep him alive, but that does force out that Nano from Outlaws. And now Defiant can go back in with their own. They back all the way up, waiting for this dive to come in from Defiant. Defiant, they're playing towards this cart. Fearless has nothing on the cart. There's that Nano Boost from Speedily. He's already half HP, but he has the heals. Discord or bottom. Can he find the value to end this series here and now? Violet backs up. He's totally fine. Pelican with the Pulse Bomb finds Ultraviolet. Fearless gets Speedily, and that disengage was absolutely phenomenal.
Pelican was Rookie of the Year for a reason. He allows Outlaws a get out of jail free card in that fight. And Defiant are going to have to go back and push back onto this payload after they'd invested ultimates thinking that they were going to win, thinking that they were going to finish that map out. And as a result, Outlaws are in the driving seat. They've got Transcendence, they've got EMP, Defiant don't even have that.
They don't. Because Shu is just ridiculous on the anime. We talk about this guy so many times for a good reason. 1 minute and 30 seconds now. Maybe this is where Outlaws start waking up, right, Moxie? I mean, this is where they got to stop things, and they have the ultimate advantage.
It's the space that's working against Defiant. They have to cross these long distances to get back onto that payload, and Speedily doesn't have that mercy pocket. So if he goes up into the sky and reveals himself to either Shu or Violet, he can literally just get free tap chained by the Ana without any peel from the team.
EMP comes through now onto Surmajed, and they find him early. This keeps happening, unfortunately, for Surmajed. Just that EMP play from Happy just gets at least one of the backline, either Ultraviolet or Surmajed. And now 1 minute left on the clock. Outlaws still have some good ultimates to go through with.
Yeah, every single day of the week, you commit EMP to making sure that the Kiriko does not get to Swift Step out. And it allows Outlaws, once again, to cycle through ultimates. EMP was committed to win that fight, and they won it. Now they get to sit with a Pulse Bomb, a Nano Boost, and a Transcendence. Hydron has a Pulse Bomb, but we've already seen Shu use it to save a Squishy, as they're going to use it proactively. Fearless goes in with the Nano Boosted Winston to push onto the members of Defiant, looking to use that rush as a leg up to build ultimates. As a result, they haven't found the damage. They're still going to get staggered out.
The hack came through onto Speedily, and they're there to find the follow-up, but Kaluj does trade back Happy, so that's a good trade, 1 for 1. Do they commit ultimate? 17 seconds left. They have to, but Violet just been crazy on this, and Yada shuts down Hydran before they can even come in. 10 seconds left. Fearless pops the primal wave to stay alive. The Nano Boost was committed onto Kaluj because they have to start throwing things out there. Hero plays are going to have to come now for Toronto Defiant. They're waiting for Hydran to come back. Happy and then drops for that hack on the backline to find the pick. The copy comes through onto Speedily, who then 1v1s Pelican. In the meantime, the front line is just fighting on the cart, fighting for position here. Pelican a little bit caught up, but has that orb. And Ultraviolet finds Happy on the backside, so he is the better Violet today. But Shu does trade back Speedily's copy, so that's a 1 down for them. And now Pelican is trying to find the backline desperately, but the double pocket is there. Surmajed and Ultraviolet doing a great job healing each other. Meanwhile, on the cart, Hydran goes for the pulse bomb play, does trade back Fearless, but Violet gets Kaluj. Is anybody in the cart? It's just Pelican now. No take here. Happy comes back for the hack onto Speedily, but here comes that cleanse, and Pelican has the Nano Boost. Nobody can touch on the side of Defiant, and somehow, someway, Outlaws tie it 1-1.
Oh my, we're in for a series, Dustin.
Dude, I'll get chills,
we're in for
dude.
a nail biter of a series. I was about to fall off of my chair when Violet came in and landed that shot onto Hydran, because once again, it's just a knife turn immediately. You land that shot onto the Tracer, instantly the game entirely changes. In another universe right now, Toronto Defiant take it 2-0. But we're in this universe, and I think Outlaw fans are going to be very happy that they're in that universe where both Shu and Violet can land the shots that they did on that match, because, oh boy, this DPS lineup.
You can't undersell Defiant either, right? In this situation, maybe Outlaws, you're confused why your team lost map number 1. It's because both teams are pretty close, honestly. I think we can both agree, Moxie, that both teams have been playing amazing, but this is why Outlaws has the pedigree that they do, right? To have that player, to have the player's experience in the playoffs, in deep in tournaments. The Outlaws really just continue to shine very frequently versus a team like Defiant. Now, Moxie, going to the map number 3. I wonder if Defiant can pull things back.
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing whether or not Happy just sticks with the Sombra, because we were talking about it for a lot of round one, like Kaluj being there on the Diva and being able to defense Matrix and peel, while also contesting both of the high ground and the low ground, was just such a massive boon. For Defiant to always be able to work with it meant that so much pressure as well, and focus was taken off of Speedly and Hydron, so they were able to get up away with so many different flanks. That all changed when we saw that second round come through. Kalush was kept in check. He wasn't able to find that same space that he was looking for because Happy just kept checking him, kept hacking him, kept denying the boosters, kept denying the availability of the peel for the Diva, and that aided into the resources and setup for the DPS lineup and allowed Houston Outlaws to be able to turn a pretty rough start around.
Yep, and we'll see if they could do so on that map number 3, guys. So don't go anywhere. We're going to a short break. When we come back, that map number 3, we'll be right back.
I still need to recover from this shot. Justin,
He didn't even mean to.
Smacking Hydrant straight in the head into that letter number. It's been 0 days. Like, Overtime had been burning for so long. You can forgive them for not walking onto that payload. Already we can see adaptation coming through, but you know what else we can see? Something truly magical, Dustin, something that puts a brilliant smile on my face. First up, we're going to a third map, which is the first time that we're getting to cast more than 2 maps, as it is going to be Push and it is going to be Esperanza, which should mean that things like the Fire and the Echo can come into play a little bit more, which I'm hoping to maybe see. I wonder if we're going to see Kalush maybe run out on something a little bit different, because that diva was getting pretty hard counted by Sombra. But I mean, we just have to just bask in the glory of what's about to come up, because you wish was granted. And I can say now, this drawing is to scale.
Them artists work quick. I mean, that's why we have the artist corner, right? I mean, at the same time, great tweet from Angela Ziegler. I can't believe they actually did that, man. It's just so funny looking. I wanted to stop looking at it because I was just so surprised that somebody actually managed to draw you with giant boots
too. Like the attention to detail. I need a matching cowboy hat now.
Can you please get those huge boots too? Like, can you buy some like massive thick boots that are that big?
I'm tiny. Boots look massive on me no matter what I wear.
That's fair, but I'm probably as short as you, to be honest. But we got some subs coming through now for the Toronto Defiant guys. We got obviously Sam now coming in, and OG back for the Toronto Defiant. I mean, I don't even think Majed played bad. Neither did Hydran by any means so far. I mean, this has been a close series, but now we get to see the side of Sam. We saw OG map number 1, but now we get to see Sam come through, who was previously on the Shock, now on to this Toronto Defiant squad. Let's see if he can really show up on this push map.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what composition Defiant want to run this out with. I wonder if we're going to see that flex from Sam onto something like the Echo, so that Speedily can focus on the Tracer. Because we were seeing that the backline was the thing that hit Defiant hard in that last map, and just being able to put more resources into dealing with that backline, so that something like an Echo, if you want to run it on a map which has really big skyboxes, could be something that Defiant want to put into play, just because it gives Kalush a lot more breathing room too. Shu and Violet being so DPS orientated puts a lot of pressure onto all of the members of Defiant when that fight is yet to break out. That's why Outlaws were continuing to just press and push a Defiant. Every single time there was a little bit of a lull, Outlaws would always just try and push Defiant into taking a fight that they weren't quite prepared for, off of base damage set into motion by Shu and Violet.
And I mean, leading into this map, Moxie, who has the advantage even between, if we're going to see Happy on the Cass and Sam on the Cassidy, right? Where this is like going to be a fresh matchup that we haven't seen in this last map, right? It's always about who takes the payload or takes the robot first. Who do you think does that immediately?
I mean, it's a coin flip, right? It's going to be whoever finds the first pick. And both of these casters are going to be looking to control the same off angles, and that's going to really impact how these Winstons actually decide to play. Like, both the Tracers are looking to play off of the Winston. The Winston dives in and sets the Tracer up for that one clip, but the Cassidy is the one that's looking to punish a disengagement that's rough.
Happy on the front line, just kind of dealing that damage out to Defiant, who opt to rotate around this backside to look for that Ana. Fearless already goes aggressive, forced to use that bubble. Kalush just playing back, just peeling for Fearless, and Sam kind of just trying to look for those shots over to the backside. Goes down to 60 health and finds Happy. So there's the opening pick you talked about, Moxie, but they have that positioning. They have the rotator on the backside. Outlaws, you're down 1 member now. You're going to have to back up.
Yeah, this is the positioning that I was talking about, right? The Winston and the Tracer initiate that dive. They actually wait as well for Fearless to commit into the backline so that the Winston bubble has been used. And when Happy gets caught out of position away from the rest of the team, stuck in main underneath that arch, Winston bubble isn't back in cooldown. So Sam just pokes forward, finds the tap onto Happy, and from there, Outlaws have lost so much brunt damage. They can't really hold that position, and they just get torn to pieces one by one when Defiant decides to push forward.
And anti-grenade comes through from Ultraviolet towards that health or that pack at the backside. Kalush goes down though so quick. Unfortunately, while a reload was coming through for Ultraviolet, now the counter engage comes through for Outlaws too. And without any ultimates, how does Defiant win? It's through a magnetic grenade connecting him to Fearless with an anti-grenade from Violet, who lives, by the way, with suboptimal HP. Pulse bomb comes through from Speedily to zone, but eventually Ultraviolet falls to the Cassidy of Happy on that low ground. And now they just keep pushing forward as Outlaws does. Pelican gets Sam as well.
No. Yeah, Pelican getting Sam is the worst thing for Defiant because it happens staggered out. and they're going to be looking to, well, they were looking to leverage the fact that Sam was 20% ahead of Happy in terms of Deadeye, and that means 20% ahead of zoning Outlaws off of control of this robot. That distance is now evaporating as we talk. Happy is already going to be closing onto that Deadeye. He has control of that poke phase. He's going to find the last couple of shots needed to be able to match up with Sam. And Defiant have lost the one way of isolating Outlaws when a dive comes through. They've lost Ultraviolet because the cast wasn't there to create that space. And Fearless is absolutely fearless. He doesn't have to worry about punishment. He can just look for the Ana, look for the backline, and Defiant burns a Nano trying to match shoes off of that fight. That's going to spiral into the next fight's ultimate economy.
And that was all on Shu there, by the way, who got that sleep dart onto Kalush, who was nano boosted, and also managed to just get that nano boost on the front line and find the anti-grenade onto Ultraviolet to pick him early. So great job from Outlaws so far. They got that car control back in their favor, 46 meters to 36 on the side of Defiant. They go towards that car. Kalush has to jump early. He's going to have power range here. Nano boost comes through, and it seems like Happy can just absolutely Gatling gun this front line. Speedily and Sam are already gone, and another sleep dart comes through onto Kalush, so they're not going to find any value in now. It feels like you've almost woken up the beast of Outlaws as they continue on forward and get that checkpoint.
Don't poke the bear. Is it an oxen that Outlaws logo forms together to make? I'm sure sleeping oxen are pretty much something you also don't want to poke.
No.
Defiant now are going to have to deal with coming into this next fight. They do have a Deadeye. They have to worry about the pulse bomb from Pelican, though, as Ultraviolet is not yet there with that nano boost, and Ultraviolet has been a target that Outlaws have relentlessly pursued. This time is to shut their Deadeye down. Hyper Arm is only going to buy you a little bit of time once the pulse bomb wears out, and instantly Outlaws just pull the Cassidy apart. And Defiant, that was the one way that they were looking to stop the movement of Outlaws further yet further forward. It's been denied entirely.
So clean from Fearless to boop that sticky target from Sam into the Lucio, and now Outlaws have that nano boost. So does Ultraviolet. They're gonna have some breathing room here, but they're not afforded it. It seems like Defiant are just continually having too much pressure on this back line. Ultraviolet goes super low, gets sniped from Fearless. 180 flick behind the back. Winston no scope. I mean, that was kind of sick. Ultraviolet down yet again, even though they committed the same amount of ultimates, and Outlaws look so clean on push so far.
Speedily is going to have to be the one player that Defiant look to. OG with the same barrier can buy himself the time to build his team towards that pulse bomb, but it's going to have to be big. It's going to have to get into the backline before Violet hits the sound barrier, and that anti coming through is just going to force Defiant to wait even longer.
I mean, this is an Ana's dream in Overwatch 2 compared to 1 where you can just get these nades off completely for free. And now on the opposite side, Speedily goes very aggressive, looking for that front line of Fearless, has to back up out of there, knowing they don't have a lot of ultimates. Now with that beat drop, Violet is committing it, and it forces OG's beat drop on the side. Now the High Noon lands the sleep dart, and then pulse bomb wombo combo from Ultraviolet and Speedily, but Ultraviolet goes very aggressive. OG finds Fearless, and finally, the breathing room is now afforded to Defiant. They get that robot back under the control.
Yeah, Ultraviolet goes aggressive because he knows that Speedily is pulling apart Outlaws' backline. So even though you do trade your Ana for it, you still win the fight out overall, and that's the trade to want to take every day of the week. Because now they're the ones pushing, they're the ones picking up momentum, they're the ones pushing towards ultimates that they can cycle through. They just have to survive this next engagement. This is the true test. When the nano boost from Shu comes onto Fearless, Defiant cannot go down.
Kalush now on the cart trying to control it, but both Tracer and Winston doing a lot of that work now. Shu with the nano boost realizes Defiant are in a bit of a vulnerable position, but actually it's Fearless who was in because he's poked all the way back. Has to use a cooldown. Incoming nano boost from Kalush. The Outlaws decide to commit theirs. It doesn't look like it just hit. Now they committed, but it might be too late. They already lost Happy. Sleep Dart does land on the Kalush. Maybe it buys some time for Pelican. High Noon came through. Pelican finds Sam yet again. It keeps happening every time he commits to High Noon, but speedily finds Pelican in the trade. So it's an even fight, but it's Fearless with that Primal Rage. It's Monkey v Monkey, but it's actually Shu yet again. Sleep Dart on the Kalush. It feels like off cooldowns. Kalush is taking a nappy poo, and now it looks like Defiant have to regroup. They don't have a lot of members here. Speedily has to find something with maybe a big pulse bomb, but they only have OG Kalush, and Speedily they drop the pulse bomb. It doesn't land. They get staggered. Robot back in Outlaws control.
And Defiant, by the way, had to burn Deadeye as well to try to deal with Outlaws just with the nano before the primal even came through. Defiant should have been the one in control, but rather Shu is able to control so much of that engagement by landing those antis onto Sam, by keeping him in check that Pelican can just immediately follow through. And as a result, Defiant are offset in terms of ultimate economy in this next engagement. And Outlaws, they know this.
Speedily finds Violet, though, even though it feels like they're disengaging very well. Not in that situation. Speedily gets Fearless as well. The robot back out of the control. But this is, you know, a tough part we have with push for a lot of these teams, right? Moxie just feels like you get control of that robot, but Outlaws now have time to set up in a very good position for them.
Yeah, Defiant, very good game sense, knowing that Violet already has that Sign Bearer built up. The Lucio isn't going to be playing in a forward aggressive position because that puts him at a loggerhead with the cast. Instead, he's going to be playing a little bit closer to the side lanes, and as a result, Defiant just sent a tag team with OG and Speedily to deal with him, but Speedily has been removed. Shu finds the tap with the Ana. The Tracer has vanished, and Defiant now lacking that main target of keeping this Winston in check. Just have to pull back.
Shu coming alive, and you know, we can see why Gladiators fans in the past has always said this man is a MVP caliber player. Now looks for that backline onto the end. Yet again, these guys are playing so aggressive. They're afforded this the ability to do this in Overwatch 2 with the 5 versus 5, right? Not as much pressure onto those supports just yet until Defiant set it up. They're playing it slow, letting themselves set up. They have the B drop engaged, but Moxie, look at Outlaws. They have so many ultimates. I mean, their nano boost comes through. They dive on, but Violet pops that B drop to sustain, and another sleep dart. I mean, how many times is Shu gonna hit that sleep dart on the Collusion? It feels like every single freaking fight Fearless is slept on the other side. Pelican, however, gets the pulse bomb again onto the high nooning Sam yet again. I mean, you see the storylines continue to play out. Collusion, though, trades back Shu, but at the opposite side, Fearless finds Ultraviolet, but speedily finds Happy and Violet to finally win the fight they need to, but it doesn't look like they can because Collusion is so low.
Yeah, but Outlaws, they used what? A Pulse Bomb and a Deadeye. Defiant, they used a lot more.
Right.
They used a Primal, they used a Sound Barrier, they used a Nano, they used a Deadeye. They only have Pulse Bomb heading into this next fight. And look at the distance, look at the difference of distances between these two teams. Outlaws are more than happy to sacrifice just one Deadeye to bait out so much from Defiant's side because they have distance. They can literally just play this timer down into overtime, sit on the Primal, sit on the Nano Boost, knowing that Defiant don't really have the means to be able to zone them away now that Deadeye has been removed.
Boost onto Happy to keep him healthy versus Kalush dives, and he's booped away by Violet, but Speedily does get Shu in the backline. However, down your tank player. Fearless pops that Primal Rage to sustain on that front line. Happy gets Speedily, and there's really nothing Defiant can do. Now 30 seconds left. They're going to have to regroup. They do get Fearless, but they'll be back in time, and maybe even a stagger comes through now into Defiant.
Yeah, Push is a map type that is one on momentum, and Outlaws are probably going to win this map just off of the momentum that they were able to pick up really early on, off of aggressive plays coming from Shu and Violet and baiting Defiant into throwing too many ultimates into these fights. They had Defiant hard committing in, and as a result, Defiant are going to have to hard commit ultimates to keep this potential play continuing to occur. Outlaws, on the other hand, they can just sit back and wait. They can burn ultimates from Defiant, and then they can hold on, knowing in the next fight they're going to come out on top.
8-8 comes through on the Ultraviolet and Sam onto the backline. Pelican looks for that front line, just pressuring Kalush, who has no healing. Unfortunately, will fall. And off of that, I'm not sure if Defiant can actually sustain. They do pop the net boost on Speedily, but Sam High Noons again, just the zone. At the same time, Happy does get the kill on a Speedily with his own High Noon, not beat drop to re-engage. Down 2 members versus 5. Outlaws use their own beat drop. Nobody can touch, and I don't know if we can classify that one as a Charlie Niner, but it seems like the players like to classify everything as a Charlie Niner. So, you know, we have Outlaws winning that series 2-1 versus Defiant.
I mean, there's one thing to take away from that push map, Dustin, and that's when Shu was alive in the server, everyone else's DPS players turn up dead. That Ana was on absolute fire for the entirety of the match. Just hitting those sleep darts, keeping Collusion check. Even when the Winston tried to use things like the bubble, like a lot of the time, Winston and Ana players are sort of on a stalemate, right? Because if the Ana is able to land that sleep dart onto the Winston, he becomes a lot more vulnerable. But likewise, if the Winston is able to put the bubble down before the sleep dart connects, he can just go for that shield dance around it. Every single time Kalush tried to drop that bubble to save himself, the sleep had already connected onto him. He had that timing down absolute pat. And every single time we cut to Kalush's perspective, like, you're not playing that diva, you can't defense matrix it. If the bubble timing missile lands with the sleep dart, the Winston is going night-night.
It might be too early predictions, Moxie, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that Shu's the best Ana. This is your too early predictions leading into the overall look of Houston Outlaws. But obviously, your player of the match is going to be Violet, which is because he just played amazing onto that Lucio to flex over to that right. Obviously known previously for his flex support. After the previous years, have kind of made that transition to that more main support role, and I think he's done so phenomenally.
I mean, we're going to see like 5 seconds of Blizzard World, and immediately he gets MVP for this.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm never going to tire of seeing that shot land onto Hydran. I don't think Violet is ever going to tire. I'm going to go back, I'm going to clip it, I'm going to watch that every single time before I queue in to my own matches. I'm going to be like, okay, channel Violet. We're gonna dumpster some traces today. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I can play a 90th of the better way that Violet is able to pull off some of these support plays, because oh my goodness, healing down massive, but it's the damage that you have to focus on. The deaths as well. When you're playing Zen, you're like a walking target.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing Zen without something like a Brigida or a Kiriko or a Lucio to be able to rotate you away from those threats. That Violet was able to survive as often as he did when Shu was alongside him on Ana just speaks to how potent and synergized this backline for Houston is going to be.
And they're already getting there, right? I mean, we didn't expect them to have to go to map number 3 with Defiant, but Defiant did bring them to the map number 3, where, like you mentioned, they just popped the heck off. I mean, they just did everything they had to do. And guys, we'll be going to a short break. When we come back, we'll have the desk to actually talk about those kind of things. That's gonna be myself and Moxie signing off for Nekra and Vicky Kitty coming up next. You're not gonna miss those casting matches, guys. We still have 2 more games of the day, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, friends. What an entertaining series this was. What a great showing from the Houston Outlaws, but also, of course, the Toronto Defiant. Not in small part because Hydron went absolutely bonkers. I think a lot of us would not have expected to see this match going this close, going the distance all the way onto map number 3. But let's break down the action to see how they got it done.
Yeah, that was just a treat all round. Like, both backlines going absolutely crazy. You know, Violet gets player of the match, and you can understand why when you watch this series. How much he offers to this team. He can play that Zenyatta at literally the highest level while also being able to switch over to the Lucio, which is something that not a lot of players in that role can do. But you know, there was so much back and forth. You know, Hydron on this exact point really brought Toronto Defiant that map on Sanctum. He just playing great on that Hanzo. And then this map went the distance. A cheeky little C9 towards the very end, but we got to look at Speedily Echo. Kalush has hyped it up. He says it was even better than Fledder's in 2021. 2020 when Fledder won MVP. That's how much they believe in the Speedily Echo, and it showed. He is just so strong in it. But the Winston dive of the Houston Outlaws is just too good. Like, Fearless is just different, especially when you have Violet getting lucky like this every now and then. Fearless's aggressive play, it was just too much for the Toronto Defiant to handle. But both of these teams, you should be excited for these guys moving forward because they put on a world-class performance of just how good they're going to be this year in the Overwatch League.
Yeah. And I think another big thing is, I was very impressed with Pelican's Tracer as well, because before going into the match, we were talking about, you know, Pelican saying that he wasn't too comfortable on Tracer, and we were thinking, you know, how good is he now? But he is just amazing.
He's been popping off, but here's a fun little play for you that we isolated as well. Ultraviolet gets hacked by Happy, and then Fearless with the 1-2 punch gets Ultraviolet off because of the hack, can't TP to his teammates. So a nice little fun synergy thing here coming from the Houston Outlaws. And I was surprised to see the Doomfist come out by Fearless as well. We knew he had it in his wheelhouse, but with how good he is at Winston, I wasn't expecting to see it, but it worked out very well for them.
You know, this should get everyone out there excited to see more of both of those two teams. Now, of course, we do have a winner's interview ready, and one half of the Deadly Outlaws backline will be joining Danny for a quick chat.
Thank you so much. So we got none other than Violet, our player of the match for the post-match interview. Violet, can you hear me? 들리시나요?
네네, 들립니다.
All right. Before we start, do you want to just say hello to all of your fans? 자, 시작하기 전에 간단하게 자기소개 한번 하면서 인터뷰 한번 시작해보도록 하겠습니다.
네. Hello, my name is Minky Park. I play flex support in the Houston Outlaws. Nice to meet you guys.
Round of applause. Perfect. Great English. Hey, Violet, can I do everything in English then? I think your English is really good.
No. I need to translate.
No.
No.
Let's try. Question number one. Question number one. Okay. You guys lost map number 1, and then after you guys won the whole match. So what changed? What changed after map 1?
We just. I can speak English. I can understand.
Okay, let's go with Korean. We try. Good try. 자, 한국말 하셔도 돼요. 장난이었어요.
첫 맵 지고 나서 그냥 너무 약간 조금 상대는 이제 약간 웜업이 되어 있는 상태고, 왜냐면 걔네는 이미 경기를 한 것도 있고 저희는 이제 진짜 몇 개월 만에 첫 대회를 하는 거라 조금 그런 이슈가 있었다고 생각해요. 약간 좀 첫 맵을 너무 쉽게 이기다 보니까, 그러니까 첫 쟁탈의 첫 맵을 너무 쉽게 이기다 보니까 약간 조금 풀어진 감이 없지 않아 있었던 것 같아서, 그래서 좀 그걸 다시 멘탈 다 잡고 이제 이거 두 번째 맵부터 다시 했던 것 같습니다.
All right, so I think definitely one of the biggest thing was Toronto Defiant. They, I think, had the upper hand because coming into the match, because they were already warmed up. They already played a match coming in. Contrary to that, for our team, Houston Outlaws, this was our first match in the Overwatch League in months. We haven't played before, so getting warmed up was a big thing. And also, I think after winning the first round of the first map, I think we became a little bit too loose. We were, so we needed to clean that up. And then I think it just took time after winning the first round to really clean up our, I guess, sort of lax I guess, plays, and that's how we sort of went back into shape and won the whole match as well. All right, my last question for you, Violet, is of course, you've been with the San Francisco Shock for I think a very long time since you came into the Overwatch League, and this is your first time moving to a different team. So how does that feel? You're joined by so many great players as well. 자, 마지막 질문으로 바이올렛 선수, 제가 알기로는 이번 오버워치 리그를 들어오시면서 센쇼에서 쭉 있다가 이번에 처음으로 이적을 하신 것 같은데, 이렇게 좀
네네.
굉장한 선수들과 같이 새로운 팀으로 이적을 하신 거에 대해서 좀 어떠신가요?
이제 좀 항상 있던 곳에만 있다가 이제 좀 뭔가 계속 집에만 있다가 이제 막 사회생활 처음 하러 나가는 그런 기분이 살짝 들더라고요. 아무래도 좀 오래 있다 보니까. 근데 뭐 지금 여기 있는 멤버들도 다 친한 애들이어가지고 막 그렇게 이질감이 들진 않고, 그리고 또 이제 아무래도 정뻑 형도 원래 쇼크 코치였던 형이었는데 그 형도 이제 여기 있고 하다 보니까 막 그렇게 막 뭔가 어색한 느낌은 별로 없는 것 같습니다. 그래서 적응은 지금 아주 잘 하고 있는 것 같아요.
Yeah, I'm getting accustomed to the new team very well, quite honestly, because it's sort of, when I first moved to Houston Outlaws, it sort of felt like when someone becomes an adult and moves out of the house and finds a new job. It sort of felt like that because I was with one team for such a long time. Now I'm finding a new team, but everything is going fine. I'm really close with all the players. Not only that, our head coach Jung Bok was also on the same team as well on the San Francisco Shock, so that definitely helped me transitioning to a new team as well. All right, Violet, I'm gonna end the interview right here.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time, and again, big congratulations on the win. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
So much, Violet. Good job, Danny, trying to bait out the English interview there.
Danny's such a bully. He was like, nah, do it in English. Come on, just do it.
Hey,
but
some players
honestly,
want to try it. Some people want to try it. I know Violet's
Also,
good. Yeah.
Their English is a lot better than they
Yeah.
give themselves credit
Yeah.
for, but of course it is a little intimidating to do it in an interview, especially if you weren't able to prepare for it and Danny just puts you on the spot.
I'm close with Violet.
But-
I love it. He knows. It's fine.
We all love him. Great to hear from him, Danny. Thank you so much for once again helping us getting some insight. Now, we have another match coming your way, and that one will be fought out between the LA Gladiators and the Contenders team Wisp. Those are the two teams we're going to see next. This is a first look for both of those, as we do not know currently what to expect from this new Gladiators roster.
I mean, we do know some of these players, like big names. Dante from Houston Outlaws is joining Gladiators. Kai on there, a heavy hitter DPS player. Kevster, again, with the Gladiators as well. A new face, though, I think Babel was on the O2 Blast Korean Contenders team. And I heard a lot of great things about him, so I'm looking forward to him perform as well. But I think overall, Gladiators is another very hyped team. The big question, though, just like I think it was Toronto Defiant, they only have one tank. They have Dante as their sole tank. Is that going to be enough for the Pro-Am and for the season coming up? That's a big question.
Especially because he's new to just being the only tank player. So, we'll see if he has the ability to play all these different looks. If you go with Scrimbucks, it might not look that good. But Team Wisp on the other side, this is the Contenders team that just snuck into the Pro-Am, winning in the tiebreaker match. And this is an interesting team because they've been in Contenders for a while, but they've never been that high-end team that's been winning against, the big staples of North American contenders like American Tornado. But they have really solid players. Unfortunately, when they qualified, they had Croy, who has since moved on to the Los Angeles Valiant. But there's some really unique players you should keep your eyes on. For me, it's Rocket on that Tracer. He's known for this hero. It's probably been his bread and butter for a very long time. And that is the player that if they are going to start getting some wins, if they are going to take it to these Overwatch League teams, keep your eye on him as a player.
And that leads us now to our predictions. I do feel like this one has a clear favorite coming into it. And of course, Wisp not being able to play with your tank in this one, that might actually end up hurting him. However, I do feel like, due to the fact that those players, the rest of that squad has been playing with each other for such a long time, that might help them out here and there. But I doubt it's going to be giving them more than maybe the opportunity to steal the map from the Gladiators. I do think just the pure power of the individuals from the Gladiators, they're going to go the distance, whether or not they've been playing with each other for a long time. I do think that there's a lot of talent on that Glad squad, so I went with Gladiators. How about you, Danny?
I went with Gladiators as well. I've heard some stuff that Gladiators were struggling, but I don't buy into Scrimbucks and Kevster Kai. They
Can't be bought.
They have Kevster Kai as your DPS duo. Like, what else can you say about that?